Hi, everybody. Welcome to Bedtime Stories with Tim. We're continuing with the New Year's story, Once Upon a One Night Stand, Part 2. 1 hour into the year's infancy, my two newfound companions opened the door to the Eagle for me, and I stepped inside. The lack of light within, paler than the street lamps outside, forced my eyes to adjust to the contrast. The odors of a locker room assailed me: sweat, mildew, and a pungent chemical smell that seemed familiar, like petroleum, but I could not place it. Two screens on each side of a long wooden bar, lamps over a pool table in a room separated by a half wall, and blue fairy lights sparingly built into the woodwork composed all the illumination in the club. The patrons of all ages, each and every one, cocked their heads to stare at us. In the glow of the televisions, I saw that some dressed similar to me, shirt, pants, and hiking boots. Others wore black harnesses, leather bands snapped into chrome rings over their hair-covered chests and backs. A single band ran from each one's midsection over their bellies to slip underneath chat-covered jeans. "Get this boy a drink on my tab," Patrick called to the bartender. "He's had a rough night. We'll have the usual." I followed Patrick and David to the center of the bar, where the patrons' gazes following me out of the corners of my eyes. I sensed their attention on my back, watching, analyzing, and rating me. I felt minuscule, unworthy. "What'll it be?" the bartender said through a thick mustache and beard. "Rum and Coke," I said, not wanting the extra charge for Bacardi on the bill. The television sets drew my attention. Movies played on them, movies involving men with devices. I slammed my sight into the bar counter. In place of beer nuts and pretzels, the bar offered up steel buckets packed full of condoms and lubricants. "Here you go," David said, handing me my drink. Patrick and he both had bottles of Bud. I took the cup and it shook within my grip, the alcohol swinging over the rim. "Relax," Patrick said, placing his hand on my shoulder. "You're safe. You look like a straight man getting a proctology exam." Two large black speakers over the bartender crackled into life, pulsing with Kermit the Frog's heartfelt rendition of the Rainbow Connection. Voices joined. I turned around to see most of the people hoisting cigars, cigarettes, and bottles, singing along moderately in tune, word for word. David winked. My muscles slackened and my lips curled up from a frown. I joined in with the lovers, the dreamers, and me. "See, not so bad," David said when the tune ended. Gathering my courage, I checked out the bar on my own. I found a stairway. With one hand on the rail and the other cradling a drink, I started up the steps, my mind contemplating if Miss Piggy ever caught on to Kermit. I came across a sign posted halfway up the steps. 1 in 6 have it, don't play Russian roulette. A few more steps up, another sign proclaimed, friends don't share toys. At the top, a huge room spanned out, darker than below, with men lined up around its borders, standing, smoking, and drinking. I entered the doorless entrance just to the right of the stairs and came into another section of the bar, the same size as the one below it, but packed with twice the amount of people. Against one wall, wooden planks were bolted together to form a larger than human-sized X with thick restraints at the end of each one. On another wall, a huge chair resided in throne-like fashion, reminding me of the 50s movies I watched where men sat down to have their shoes shined. I walked through the room, acting oblivious to the ever-watching eyes upon me, and discovered an exit at the other side of the bar that led into a hallway. To the left, I could see down the expansive room and the stairway. To the right, another doorway loomed. I tried to peer inside into its darkness, but could not see more than 2 feet in, which revealed only small sections of the floorboards. Sounds emanated from moaning, sliding, and groaning noises. A Schoolhouse Rock song popped into my head. He was a scary bear, he was a hairy bear. I made a hasty retreat from something clasped my wrist and whirled me around, sending my drink hurling into a liquid explosion against the wall. A body forced itself into mine, pinning me against it on the opposite wall. A man with brown hair snared my other wrist and forced my arms over my head. "Oh, you're a hot one," the man slurred, breath soured with whiskey and smoke. I pushed against his grip with all my strength, but my arms did not move, and he ignored my effort. His muscles bulged against green and orange armbands. Was that a scar? Yes, there was a scar under his nose that made it look like it was running. "Let go of me right now," I hissed in the coldest, firmest voice I could manage. "Oh, you like to play." He moved to kiss me, but I swerved my head to the side. I don't want to play. I don't want to do anything. Let me go! Bits of brick cut into my arm and my hands pulsed from the lack of blood. You do too, or you wouldn't be in the dark room. You know you want to. You just want someone to make you want it. No, I don't. Stop it! You cheater! You freaking little cheater! Came a voice. The man looked to the side. Can you believe this guy? I turn my back for 1 minute, one lousy freaking stinking minute, and I find him making out in the hallway. I looked under my captor's arm, but all I could see was a blue shirt with a red S against a yellow background. Superman? I'm being rescued by a guy in underoos? I'm sorry, said the man, holding me. His tone shifted from gruff to apologetic. I didn't know. It's not your fault, said the guy in the Superman shirt. He does this all the time. Superman guy turned his attention toward me. But I'm through. Do you hear me, mister? Through. The man let go of me and backed off. I slid to the floor and held my knees, my hands throbbing. This is the last time, Mr. Man, said Superman guy, thrusting his finger at me. I'm taking Muffy and moving in with Mom. And if you think I'm going to let you keep that Christmas present, you have another thing coming. I'm taking it back and buying a new wardrobe. The man looked at each one of us in turn, his brows knitted in a stymied expression, and he walked away. You all right? Superman guy said. I'm so not all right, but I'll be fine. You yelled at me. Me? Who's Muffy? In my head, it was a Cocker Spaniel. It was that or steal him away from you, and he's not really my type. Besides, once I get going, I could talk a bum out of his last swallow of liquor during a blizzard. He held out his hand and I accepted. Once standing, I wiped the spittle from my neck. First time here, I take it, he said. You could say that. Don't worry, not everyone is like him. He's just partied out. Most people here are nice. Just avoid the dark room unless that's what you want. I suppose they've got to be with superheroes like you running around. He looked down at his shirt and blushed. That is when I first truly realized how beautiful he was. Dirt blonde hair and thick waves, dimples, a runner's build, short nose, and soft-spoken voice. My hero, I said, enjoying the fleshness and the dimples. Twarn't nuttin', mister. He stopped smiling and stared at me with such an expression of concern. You going to be okay? Yeah, I think so. Looks like you need another drink, he said, glancing at the splattered wall. He looked back at me. Well, take care. I'm going to go make sure that Mr. Bruiser doesn't attach himself to anyone else. Have a happier New Year. With that, he walked down the hall and started down the stairs. Thanks again, I called after him. Then I realized I hadn't even gotten his name. I walked back into the upstairs bar and asked the bartender for a shot of Crown Royal and a Bacardi and Coke. I went to pay, but a hand flew up in front of me. I've got him. Thank you, I said to a man sitting at the bar. He was bald, looked to be in his mid-20s, and had a goatee on his face and a diamond earring in his right ear. He patted the stool next to him, his black biker jacket scrunched with every movement he made. I sat down, threw back a shot, and took a sip of cocktail to weaken the flavor. What's your name, he said. Mickey. You? Keith. Well, Mickey, why don't you tell me why do you look like your dog just died? He motioned to the bartender with 2 fingers. I had a run-in in the hallway. That'll do it. A hot guy like you roaming the hallways is bound to draw attention. Keith swiveled the stool to face me and placed his arm onto the counter, his jacket making that stretched leather sound. The bartender placed a shot in front of me. No thanks, I told the bartender, who just walked away. Go ahead, Keith said. You look like you need it anyhow. You're so uptight. I'm not uptight. Sure you're not. I took the shot and washed it down again with my drink. How many have you had? This is my first here. Well, second. The first one is eating through the plaster. Keith laughed. Well, my friend, you have some catching up to do. It's my first one here. I had plenty before I ever got here. The bartender picked up an empty shot glass and put a full one in his place. He quickly moved away to another customer before I could complain. What are you doing? I said to Keith. Can I level with you? Sure. The minute I saw you walk through, I thought to myself, this is one fine-looking man. I want to take him home. But I knew from the look on your face that you'd be uptight and afraid. I knew that you'd never open up, so I'm trying to get you drunk, then hopefully you'll let me take you home so I can make love to you. I felt as if hundreds of millipedes scoured my body. Unless you aren't attracted to me. It's not that. I think you're very cute, and I've always had a thing for bald guys. It's just that... Just what? I rode with friends, and I probably should go with them. Tell them I'm taking you home. I took the shot, hoping for a jolt of liquid courage, though thoughts chimed in the back of my mind, repeating, this is what you set out to do. See, I knew you were too uptight. That's not it. I've just never gone home with someone. Besides, with the night I'm having, you're probably Jeffrey Dahmer's biggest fan. The bartender will vouch for me as well as just about anyone in the bar. The only thing you have to be worried about is having too much fun. Tell you what, continue to sit and drink with me, and after a little while, if you don't feel comfortable, just walk away, no questions asked. Okay. His questions probed into my secret fantasy places, and I dodged him, not wanting to discuss things with a stranger that I'd never even been comfortable telling Paul. A few drinks later, the bar blurred, the music faded, and even the smoky residue dispersed. Then it happened. He looked at me, leaned over, held the back of my head, and kissed me, tight-lipped and flicking tongue. It did not suit me at all. A fact made worse by a hatred of public displays beyond a fact made worse by my hatred of public displays beyond simple affection. When I kiss, I like to be deep, passionate, not forceful, but strong enough to make me melt into the moment. Come on, he said, holding out his hand. I took it and he led me down the stairs. An argument ensued between Keith and Patrick. David rubbed my back and supported me while I listened to the words volleyed back and forth over who would take custody of me. Eventually it came down to my decision. I remember telling everyone I would be all right. David wrote down his phone number and handed it to me in case something happened. Patrick threatened bodily harm to Keith if so much as a scratch appeared on me, and Keith vowed to take me home hardly marked. The next thing I recall, I sat in a white car. I don't even know the make or model, shivering as my breast hung before my face in puffs. Keith got into the car. My God, you're so hot. I'm going to have so much fun with you. He smiled and patted my knee and then started the car. I'm going to do it, I thought. I'm actually going to go through with it. Bile rose in the back of my throat and my guts recoiled. My door opened. Arms attached to a blue shirt with a Superman emblem reached in and grabbed my shoulders and dragged me out of the seat. What in the hell are you doing? Keith shouted, scrambling from the car. He's going home with me, Superman person yelled back. The hell he is. He wants to go home with me. Ask him. I'm not asking him. He's drunk and out of his mind and doesn't have the slightest idea of what's going on. He darted a glance at me. No offense. None taken, I said. No, you're not doing this. He came out with me. He was in my car and I'm taking him home. You do not comprehend the situation here, Keith. I'm telling you no. Argue all you want. He's not going home with you. I have him and he's staying with me. And if you make me, I'll knock the unholy hell out of you to prove it. Keith started to come around the car. Superman guy leaned me against the car and balled up his fists. Keith, I'm telling you, you don't want to do this. I'll win. There'll be other tricks, but you can't have this one. Keith stopped. Forget you. He wouldn't have been that good anyway. Keith got into his car and slammed the door shut. The car tore out of the parking lot, the window still covered in frost. You okay? Yeah, I lied to him, not telling him about my new ability to see the earth spin. This is the end of part 2, and I will continue with part 3 very shortly. And I hope you're enjoying it, and give me comments, good or bad. Always love it. Thanks. Bye.